All right, it is 4 o'clock, and this is the November Ttcda meeting. I believe we have a quorum. So, all right, let's address approval of last meeting's minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
And second?
Second.
I have approval, or a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll jump into the applications for certificates of appropriateness. First up is Jason Hunt, Cannon and Cannon. It's 11-A-23-TOB. And can I get a staff report, please?
Okay. This proposal's for a new 196 multifamily development and 2 duplexes for a total of 220 units in Hardin Valley. This 27.1 acre site is at the intersection of Hardin Valley Road and Schaefer Road. There will be one driveway access point, which is on Schaefer Road. So this property has 3 different zones on it. Let me go back here. The planned commercial, the OB, which is office, medical, and related services zone, the PR zone up to 6.5 dwelling units an acre, and it's in the technology overlay zone. All structures will be in the OB or the PR zone. The building setbacks adhere to either the zoning district or the Ttcda guidelines, whichever is more stringent. The Ttcda requires 100-foot setbacks when abutting residential, so that's in a few areas on the site plan. 30-foot setback on the front and 20-foot side setback. The peripheral boundary in the PC zone is 50 feet. While the peripheral boundary in the PR zone is 35 feet. So we've got a bunch of different setbacks going on this property. And the proposed parking lot has 436 spaces, including 12 garage spaces. And this meets the minimum requirement, which is 312, and under the maximum, which is 546. This property is partially forested with some previous grading. The landscape plan is extensive and adheres to all the landscape requirements of Ttcda. There's a 40-foot no disturb buffer along this southern boundary. And it also abuts the residential subdivision to the south, and that 40-foot non-disturb buffer is a condition of the rezoning in 2014. There's one monument sign on the property. It's 98 square feet, which is based on the Tennessee State Scenic Highway Act, which limits signs to 100 square feet within 1,000 feet of the highway. So this is of Pellissippi Parkway. The base masonry will match the apartments that will match what's on the apartments and clubhouse. So the density for this area, for the PR zone portion of the property, is going to be 6.33 dwelling units an acre. And so that's within the 6.5 dwelling units an acre maximum. The OB zone has a maximum of 12 dwelling units an acre, and what they're proposing is 9.54 dwelling units an acre, for an overall total of 8.11 dwelling units an acre. The PR and OB zones allow multifamily dwellings and duplexes as permitted uses, and the PR and PC zones will require planning commission approval of the development plan. So this will be heard on Thursday. The proposed buildings are 3 stories tall, 3 stories and 38 feet tall. The OB zone has a maximum height of 45 feet, and the Planning Commission determines the maximum height for any other use other than houses and duplexes in the PR zone. So staff recommends a maximum height of 40 feet for the multi-dwelling structures in the PR zone. Additionally, the site sits below the abutting subdivision, and there's already a 40-foot non-disturb buffer that includes tall, mature trees. There were zoning conditions that were placed during the rezoning of the PR portion in 2014. There should be no clearing or grading until a development plan is approved. 100-foot setbacks will be along the peripheral boundary and a 40-foot no disturb buffer along the peripheral boundary abutting the residential subdivision. So that includes this portion. That's already kind of included in the Ttcda guidelines, but in the rezoning, they made it a condition of the rezoning. The HP overlay is exempt because of previous grading, and that was partially when Schaefer Road was realigned in 2018. The traffic study recommends extending the storage length of the westbound left turn lane at the intersection of Hardin Valley Road at Schaefer Road. The storage should be extended by 100 feet and should include bay taper with a length of 160. A memorandum of understanding with Knox County Engineering and Public Works is required for all road improvements. Additionally, Schaefer Road is a major collector road that was realigned in 2018, and at this time, sidewalks were added along the entire frontage of this property that's on Schaefer Road. There is one waiver being requested, and that's to increase the maximum floor area ratio from 30% to 36%, and staff is recommending approval of that. The proposed plan has a floor area ratio of 34.8%. The applicant is requesting an additional 1.2% to accommodate any potential changes in the site plan or building plans during permit review and limit the need to request a modification of the waiver. So staff supports this because the ground area coverage and impervious area ratio are within the limits, so there's no impact on the land resulting from the overage, and it does not impact stormwater mitigation. The increase in floor area ratio is a result of a taller building than what's typically seen in this industrial commercial office warehouse area. Additionally, the site sits below the abutting subdivision. There's already a 40-foot non-disturb buffer with mature trees. So with the recommended conditions and approval of the waiver, the proposed development conforms to the Ttcda guidelines, and we're recommending approval.
Thank you, Whitney. Do we have any questions for staff? And we recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Whitney, the conditions that were placed during the rezoning of PR, I don't see those in the staff recommendation for approval. Is that understood that those conditions must be met, or do we need to add those as the staff recommendation? Or did I miss it? Is it in the verbiage that's provided?
It's not, but I think for number 5, meeting all applicable requirements of the zoning ordinance, I think because it was added, do you agree with that, or do you think we need to?
Yeah, I mean, the condition was already adopted, so it's already part of the development plan requirements, but we can add that to the recommendation if you would prefer.
Yeah, I would like to make sure that we do include that, if you don't mind. Yes.
Okay. So maybe something just saying all of the requirements of the rezoning.
Yes, so let's see what the
Okay.
recommendation currently says.
Requirements and conditions placed during rezoning of PR, possibly. Could maybe just add that in the verbiage of staff recommendation number 5.
Yeah, I think we would want to maybe edit condition number 5. So yeah, meeting all applicable requirements of the Knox County zoning ordinance, including the condition of the rezoning in 2014 for a 40-foot buffer to be preserved and maintained along the single-family residential
That sounds good.
abutting lines.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then additional questions about the traffic study.
sure.
I know that it states that this is a minor traffic, that this would only impact traffic the operation of the traffic in this area in a minor way. Living in that area, I can tell you that any sort of impact is not minor. at this point. And it talked about the northbound left turn movement may be exceeded at times. I can tell you that, I can guarantee you that it will exceed those requirements with the addition of, I believe the traffic study said 2,190 additional daily trips. And that area from Schaefer probably to Pellissippi going west to Castaic Lanes, even with the new TDOT improvements to Pellissippi, it bogs down for, I mean, you're there at least 12 to 14 minutes if you're trying to get anywhere in that area at peak times. So I would really like to encourage that the recommendations of the traffic study really be considered. I know we need to probably work on the signals and the timing of the signals, but I have a lot of concern about Hardin Valley to Schaefer. There's 3 businesses there. I mean, if you all want to speak to the traffic study and the recommendations, I mean, I can only hope that the people who will be living here might look at Lovell as an option, but adding that many units and that many daily vehicle trips, I do have a lot of concern.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the Knox County Engineering is going to require that recommendation, and an MOU will be created.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that as a condition, and I'm glad. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that there's a lot of traffic right here. I mean, I think this is an appropriate location for this type of development. I just want to make sure we get ahead of the impact it will have on existing tenants, those businesses, the commercial area, and then also the residents living there.
Is the applicant present? If you could give us your name and your address, please, for the record.
You'll just touch the little button if the person's talking.
Jason Hunt, Cannon and Cannon, 8550 Kingston Pike. I'm here representing the developer on this project. I'm the engineer.
Okay. Jason, thanks for being with us today. Just to Commissioner Frazier's, question about the traffic study itself, obviously you guys will need to put an MOU in place. Have you guys already had discussions with the county about that?
Not about the actual MOU. I mean, we discussed it during the developer review meeting, but that is something that we will do as part of this project. So we've got the improvements in the set of plans that'll go to Knox County for review as well.
Is it signalized right now,
Yes.
the intersection? Okay. Any questions for?
No, he really answered the question. Are you okay if during the process and working with the MOU with the county engineer, if they were to make additional recommendations, would you agree to adhere to those recommendations as well?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you.
All right.
It's also a condition of the development plan, so.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
So I would say that in entertaining that motion, maybe I should have said this because we are adjusting it'll need to be per the adjusted staff recommendations. So,
Which were just what we discussed. Which was. Apologize for getting up to speed. So, if you don't mind.
Motion to approve per staff recommendation with amending condition number 5, meeting all applicable requirements of the Knox County zoning ordinance and conditions placed during the 2014 rezoning of PR.
do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item number 2, Jordan Hutchison signs and such, it will be 11-A-23-TOS. If I can get a staff report, please.
This is a request for an approval of a building sign and a panel sign within an existing development sign for a new business that has taken over some tenant space. And the development sign has already been approved by the Ttcda in previous applications. So this is going to look awfully familiar because we are on Hardin Valley Road and Schaefer Road as well. The property is currently zone planned commercial and it's within the Northwest County Sector Plan. Primary access is off of Hardin Valley Road with cross access to the rear on Schaefer Road. It's within a strip development and it's got 2 banks on either side. The proposed building sign includes a business name for Thrive Physical Therapy. The sign will be located above the facade for identification. The new sign consists of LED internally illuminated channel letters mounted to the building via a raceway. Thrive Physical Therapy will be internally lit by LEDs. The tenant space is approximately 180 feet wide. The guidelines allow for 1 square foot of building per linear foot of the frontage. The sign compromises an area of 10.38 square feet, so it is within the allotted amount, and the request is in compliance with Ttcda guidelines. Here is the yard sign or the development sign. It's an existing tenant directory. They're going to be refacing the existing pylon panel. The panel will consist of the business name and logo and will be of matte black cut vinyl decals. The size of the new panel is 3.23 square feet to fit within the existing space. This request is also in compliance with Ttcda guidelines. Any questions?
Thank you, Naomi. Appreciate that. No questions? I don't see an applicant in the audience. We don't have anybody online. Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on. Now, we have other business.
We do.
So, Michelle or whoever is going to
Yes.
take this administrative.
So we did have an applicant that submitted an administrative set of plans, but it is still undergoing the revision and process, so I don't have anything to report on today. We've not issued the COA or stamp the drawings yet. I'm waiting for their first revision to come back so that we can, their second revision to come back so we can review that and ensure it's in compliance before we approve it. So I guess that moves us to our next other business item, which is consideration of the administrative rules and procedures. So that was on the agenda last month, but there were a couple of errors that needed to be corrected. So it's coming back before you guys. So just as a refresher, this was something that Kim Frazier, Ttcda board member, as well as county commissioner, requested that we look at our postponement procedures and align them more closely with what the planning commission does. And so we have changed that language to more closely align. So the board discussed it at that meeting and kind of came up with some parameters. So for the planning commission, we allow for applicants to request postponement, withdrawal, that sort of thing, up to a week before the actual commission meeting starts. And so we did something similar here. So ours, for the Ttcda, we've requested that any materials come in at by 3:30 o'clock on Monday. And that's 1 week prior to the Ttcda date. And that's going to be for postponement of an application for it to be done, what we call administratively, so you guys wouldn't have to vote on it. We would just let you all know whenever your packets came out, hey, the applicant's requested postponement or requested withdrawal, as the case may be. Therefore, it's not going to be on your agenda anymore. If they fail to get it into us by 3:30 on Monday, the week prior, they can still request that at the meeting. So you guys would just have to vote on it at the time. So if someone sees that their request isn't going very favorably, it's maybe a little bit contentious, or there's something that we're recommending that they don't really agree with, but you guys seem on board with, they can, during the discussion of that, request withdrawal, and you guys would vote on it at that time. So the request from Kim was to, or from, I don't know if I should call you guys commissioner or board member, it's always from board member Ttcda, Kim Frazier. Yeah, so the request was just for postponement, but we added in the same language for withdrawals. And then we also updated the language for denial so that all three of those types of actions that you all can take, aside from approval, were all sort of in alignment with the planning commission, so that it was consistent. So you guys have the ability to approve with conditions, deny, withdraw, table. And so all these things have now been brought into compliance, or I guess to consistency with the planning commission. So I will entertain any questions.
I don't have a question, just thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for just hearing me and making those changes. I appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm making the assumption we need to, yes. I will entertain a motion for approval of the new guidelines.
So moved?
Second? Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you everyone for being here today. Appreciate your time and have a great week. We're adjourned.
Thank you.